And we were having some comments, Colin, when we were talking the other day on the telephone, and I asked him, so listen, if you were really focused, like what is the majority of your life right now? And your exact comment was actually quite quick. You said it is margin management.
Okay.
So margin management, this is something that comes up with everybody in here. They talk about profitability. They talk about the sharing of margin inside the firm. Would you speak to just margin management in general from your side
sure.
and then as a firm?
Okay. And I think to put this in a strategic context, I think it goes back a way, doesn't it, really? But since the crash and since the development of ABSs and innovative law firms and also North Shoring, there's just a huge interest in pricing now. And it's become a big focus of attention, and there are people who have developed a very, very good living out of providing pricing consultancy. And I guess it is a bit of a buzzword because in truth, lawyers have historically not been that great at the commercial aspects of the negotiation and the management of margin throughout the life cycle of the work that they do. And also putting this into an IT context, and particularly in the light of some of the work that the firm that I work for performs, the technology component of cost is often ignored actually in the derivation of price and of value. And so where we have been effectively, very effectively in some cases, cutting out labour from the service mix over the last few years, I don't think too many firms have actually focused on the other additional costs that have been created, and particularly where there are bespoke process applications being developed for individual clients where technology costs are a very significant component of the onboarding of that client and in the delivery of the service. And so it's opening up a complete new set of requirements in terms of the way cost is captured at client level and matter level to truly understand the profitability of the work. And I've yet to see kind of technology enablers to really pull all that stuff together too well at the moment. But it is a key issue. I mean, as we all know, the hourly rate is not only dead. I think in many areas of our practice, it's well and truly buried now. And so we've got to move on to enable our businesses to truly understand how to manage margins at all levels throughout the life cycle of cases. And technology can be a big enabler through that. When we spoke on the telephone the other day, you also asked me about how we deal with the transparency of profitability, because
yes.
if we're trying to educate people to manage margins or profitability of the work they're doing, I mean, it's all very well providing information or technology to do that, but actually the key issue is, again, it goes back to the opening comments in a way that we were making about education. That the education process about profitability is quite key to that, because, for example, one of the things that we have done within Hill Dickinson is we have a bonus scheme, for example, for lawyers. Margins are a part of that, so at different hurdles of margin within the business units that they work for, there are different triggers for bonuses. Has it made a difference? I'm not sure it has actually, so that would be the first thing to say. But what it has done is it's raised the level of awareness of profitability issues and developed a focus of lawyers on profitability and how that is managed both at a business unit level and also at an individual level. And so it's become a very key issue for us. We also use net profitability analysis as a very key part of the partner evaluation process, and it's a big driver in the partner remuneration program in terms of identifying the net profitability of individual components, either at client level, partner level, or business unit level. It's all very interesting, generates a lot of argument, particularly over the allocation of technology costs, particularly where there's investment taking place. Who bears the cost of that investment, and how do we measure the profitability, and then how do we translate that into client profitability? So it's a huge topic, really. I don't say I've got all the answers, but it's a really key issue for all firms at the moment.
Oh, I would say it's massive. Similar at your firms?
Yeah, I think we've seen as you said, this billable hour thing. We've seen a real shift, and also because we have a relatively new CFO that has a very different view, where it's about measuring the profitability of the matter rather than the pure how many hours, what was billed,
right,
utilisation type piece. So do we have the technology to really support that? Yes and no. I think we've got the technology to help us look at how we estimate and budget and measure actuals against budget to avoid the oops. we kind of thought it was going to be that, and it's now that, and now I've got a difficult conversation with the client. But taking data from that and actually getting down to the real granular measurement of profitability, I think we've probably still got a little way to go.
Agreed.
Because, for example, I mean, you were talking about the technology investments being considered as part of the, considered in the margins. That, we tend to have a bucket where all in technology investments go.
Yeah.
So taking those against the profitability of the matter is at the moment not something that we're doing. But
it's really crucial in say with large scale insurance onboarding programs, the technology component of delivering a service to an individual client can be very significant, and often, I'm not saying it's ignored, but it's certainly not understood.
Yeah.
That's good.
For me, the most interesting thing, Colin was just saying there about training and education, that if that for an audience here who interfaces with the business in the world of finance in a great deal, that I don't think you can underestimate how financially illiterate the average lawyer is. It is astonishing. I mean, I know you all know that, but they have, on average, their ability to take revenue and go through sort of gross operating net profit or whatever version you have, it's almost zero. And so the idea, and we can get into interesting debates about whether, X cost, Y cost should be allocated above and below this line. Who cares? It's really not interesting. The reality is you need to understand that the choices that you make about how you gear a matter, about, a list of things that you can influence affect profitability. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff that we do as a firm that honestly, it doesn't matter how, what proportion of this thing you get allocated, because whichever way we do it, it's going to end up, we're going to do it the same for the whole firm. And so if there was one thing to leave everyone here, I think it is that education, that kind of getting people to really understand what links are between, revenue and profit, and, whatever recovery or realization rates and utilization, how these things actually play in. Honestly, it's, my own experience of this was leaving law as a 2-year qualified and then going to McKinsey for a while and spending my first 3 months, building a discounted cash flow model. I mean, it was the most ridiculous idea. I mean, it was a stupid thing to have done, but it was a hell of a learning experience. And suddenly you realize, this whole, I kind of understand a bit about how business actually works now, or how the finances of a business work. And lawyers just don't have that understanding. So, we've got to educate them if we want to change financial behaviors or get them to help with running the firm, so that any information we give them and any technology we put in place to make things transparent is actually worthwhile, because most of them are just like, I'm going to say the words that I look at it, but I'm not actually going to engage with it.